Where was that new, the old school? They said,
Well, I'll tell you about that old school. That went right up past your dad's place. Well,
oh,
your
it did?
place. They used to go to the corner there,
Straight up from Dad's driveway.
straight up just a mile.
Oh.
The old school. My ma went there when she was a little kid, 5 years old. She used to walk in the
Across
tracks.
the woods, huh?
Yeah, right. You go to your driveway and right straight east a mile.
And then if you figure where Hoggy lives, go straight
It's,
north.
you know that 80 runs back there on Helgies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just across, it shows there, we was up in there, Clarence Thompson and Carl Anderson and I, we was up there and we found where that old schoolhouse was. It's just like they said it was. It was, well, Dad's got it wrote down. It was all made of logs, see, and the furniture was handmade.
And they must have piled dirt up.
Irv Seekins was the first teacher there. He come up to the log house and he didn't have no socks in his shoes, and Grandma asked him if he didn't have no socks. No, his mother didn't. She got one knit and didn't get the other one. And he sat down there and she knit him a pair of socks. He waited and went on to school. She could knit like Sam Hill, you know. Yeah, and she knit him a pair of socks. He was the first teacher, and Uncle Grant was another teacher in there. And then they moved up to Helgies in 1886 on that.
No, not 86, no.
Yeah, I got a picture there. 18,
Yeah. They came up
1886.
down the corner, yeah.
Yeah, and then they moved down to our school there in
Yeah, and they
91.
moved the other one over to District 7 where that was. It was over
Yeah,
on
that's right.
Yancey.
Straight.
And I can remember having a dream, I heard him telling about that they're gonna move the schoolhouse, and I remember having a dream and I could see smoke coming out of the chimney, and all of a sudden it started to go down the road.
It cost
I thought it moved just like the old trash machine.
$125 to make that schoolhouse.
Oh.
Yeah, your dad was a carpenter.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You see, yeah.
and your dad, Oscar, hauled the stones from down there where that washway is, right down below the house. They hauled the rocks for the foundation. That's stone here in the Sam Hill. See, water is always running down that ditch towards the creek there. And he hauled the rock. I think he got $5 for hauling the rock up there for the foundation. But you know, that didn't used to have that entryway on that. It used to be just as we got a picture with all of
Yeah,
us
it
kids
didn't have that
standing on the
extra
north.
Entrance. It
You
didn't
see,
have that.
there used to be
I was going to school there.
Yeah, there used to be an entry on the inside there. You remember there's a place on the
Yeah,
floor
yeah, I
there.
went right through there.
And then back in here, then where they, I can
The door
remember.
open, that's right, I remember there.
I think Anderson put on that little coop on in front, but I think Peterson built the schoolhouse in the
Yeah,
first
okay.
place.
And I can remember having my first experience with school discipline. I was out on that porch. They had a kind of a porch there, and I was standing there. And your sister Selma,
Oh,
she was a little rascal. She's always up to something.
yeah.
And she gives me a push, and I fell off the porch and down on the ground. And I went right back, and I gave her a push and pushed her off the porch to make even, see?
Yeah.
And I guess the kids were making too much of a noise, bawling or something. So here comes the teacher and grabs me and grabs Selma. And then we had to go and sit down in our seats.
And you and Sal both had to
So
go sit
that's
down.
what school discipline.
Yeah, we had a good school though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember how that was on the little school.
She was always getting in something because she was pretty.
Selma.
She was full of fun, you know, and she
Yeah.
thought it was fun to see me tumble off the step.
Yeah. Remember how we used to play Andy over and take a good hard ball, boy, them shingles, you
Pull
know.
away.
Whole school of throwing that ball, and sometimes we'd hit them shingles as hard as we could. You know, that schoolhouse never leaked when he was
Boy,
there.
did we ever have memories from there.
Anyway, had a sliding party on the hill, go to the school woodshed or either our woodshed and take out a whole bunch of wood and go up there and build a fire. We never thought of taking wood. We thought the schoolhouse belonged to us, and I guess it did probably.
Belonged to your folks, I guess.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then I remember we got, one fall, we got some good notions to get us into trouble, but it didn't amount to much. We found out that your folks had rutabagas across the road.
Yeah, Dad didn't hear you.
And they had rutabagas across the road. And I remember Albert Nielsen and some of the other, we'd sneak over there and dig up a rutabaga and take it up and run behind the wood pile. And we had our pocket
Folks
knives
would
to
laugh about it.
and we'd shave off the outside so they were clean, and then we'd eat rutabagas raw rutabagas. And your folks, your grandparents were sitting out in the front porch,
Yeah,
taking it all in, all this fun, you know, that we were having there, stealing rutabagas.
but Grandpa on that old first schoolhouse, that was made in 1874 up there.
In the woods.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a mile east, it's on that piece of, it's across from Helgie's. Well, it's just about, it's just a half a mile straight east of that Ole Johnson school.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how in the world them people must have went over there across the creek and up through the woods.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Fred
because-
Washington used to tell, he got, so he was gonna be of age enough to go to school. So when his dad and I guess his uncle, they went with him and they cut brush right across from Hoisington's
Yeah,
and down to get to that
Yeah.
new schoolhouse. They had to fix the road there.
Grandpa went from Kenneth's mailbox and take a scythe. He could mow like Sam Hill, Grandpa. See, that's scythe business. That was before the mowing machines,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And he'd mow a path so they didn't get wet. But Ma used to say once in a while they'd hear something fall out and that there's a bear coming out of a tree, see. But Ma was told about that. And one time she told Grandpa, she says, there's somebody with bare feet and there's with little kids with bare feet. Grandpa went and looked and there's an old bear with a cub,
With a
see,
cub,
someplace.
yeah.
It went in the path there after it rained, see.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Ma was a little kid, 5 years old, and she'd see Schaffner's down there where Holiday Place is. They'd come across, and the Littlefields was over there, but Clarence Gorse is right across the road, and Clarence Gorse is Charlie and them Littlefield boys, and they walked right along the south edge of our woods. There used to be a path there, and Judd and Ma, Uncle Grant was teacher there too, and they'd walk up and she'd step in the tracks, and when they come to a mud hole, where the kids carry her across, some of the boys. But the only way she could keep up was to step in their tracks, and she only weighed 37 pounds when she was 5 years old. And a little kid going up there through the woods. Of course, she went to Ole Johnson School there too.
They had some tough times.
Well,
But
they had
they
plenty
liked
to
it.
eat, raised
Well,
on.
that was the old times.
We didn't have-
You had it any better.
I can remember Ma saying, she always laughed about it, there was old Johnny Sullivan, he had where Kenneth's place is, and the Tenman and the Erickson place. See, that's 160 acres, because that fellow was an old, you see, if you went in the Civil War and stuff, you could get 160 acres as a homestead. If you was an old soldier, you'd get 160 acres, and he had that quarter in there. See, that's by descriptions. On our side, it's by lots.
Yeah.
But that's descriptions, and he had that whole 160 acres. And boy, he had to have oatmeal for breakfast, and all them old timers said he'd lose his farm because he was eating oatmeal for breakfast food.
Too
I
high priced.
imagine he did, because gosh, my old granddad, see, that's before it's even the town of Clayton. Had his old Lincoln from Osceola to Barron, and he went down to old Abe Sylvester's. I got a little corner, they didn't even have a receipt book, and he paid the taxes for 1870, $3.15.
And he probably complained about it.
That was deflation, see, I
Yeah.
suppose he probably worked 100 years to get
I
that
don't
$3.15 saved up.
Yeah,
How did you used to cut your wood? Did you do it by yourself or?
Well, you look at Russell's hand, and you'll know
Yeah.
how to cut the wood.
Yeah, really.
Before that, they cut it with a wood saw. That was the most dangerous dug gun wood saw. It's funny, most of them.
I tell you, these chainsaws aren't much better.
No.
Well,
No, you gotta be careful.
but I tell you, that other thing was a dangerous dug.